As fire managers, we all have the same simple goal: protect life, property and the environment from unwanted fire. Finding the most efficient and effective way of doing this has of course been the subject of endless debate over many years. At the National Rural Fire Authority, we've listened carefully to all the ideas and developed a strategic plan which draws on the collective wealth of experience to establish best practice right across our sector.
Over the last 15 years, the advice that I've been getting from the National Stakeholder Group involving forest and rural stakeholders is that, too many small rural fire authorities are out there and some of them are struggling in respect of the administration, and that to keep it local, keep local ownership with the stakeholders involved in good governance, merging of smaller rural fire authorities into enlarged entities was seen as a way of keeping local ownership to address local policy issues, but increasing the efficiencies which that merged administration entity would have.
At one time there were no fewer than 120 rural fire authorities. That shrunk to around 80 today. But with modern communications there's room for much more amalgamation to produce larger, more efficient districts.
Heavy machinery operator from Rural Fire Control, you there, Mark?
You got it.
Eventually the number could be as small as 14.
Well, we've been fire district now for 12 years, and we were able to show benefits by developing things like training, equipment, response capability, and link the three councils together. I think all the councils have appreciated the merge and they've had the unconditional support of their neighbours.
As the fire districts increase in size, the management role becomes more and more important.
As the chair of the fire authority, I'm chair of a governance board, and it's a true governance board in the sense of a body corporate. Therefore, it's noses in and fingers out. We appoint a chief executive who's a full-time PRFO, and that person is expected to take over all of the management responsibilities of the fire authority. Now, our fire authority is about 5 years old now as an enlarged rural fire district, and that covers more than 500,000 hectares.
Yes, in the smaller district you had to be a jack of all trades. You had to be able to respond to the small fire and had limited ability to actually specialise. But in the enlarged rural fire districts, that important role of leading the rural sector is far more possible, because underneath the PRFO you've got other people who have the skills to fight the fires, are set up to respond quickly, and the PRFO is more the overview of the big picture.
In the old smaller districts, the local fire manager would normally lead from the front, directing operations from the scene to put out the fire as fast as possible and prevent it spreading. With enlarged districts, the principal rural fire officer will take a more strategic overview, directing operations from headquarters where the extensive district resources can be most efficiently allocated.
When you come together as an enlarged rural fire district, the advantage is you've got one professional and they are entirely focused on the business of fire. So when I sit down and talk to Neil Eder as the PRFO, he has got all the detail that he needs to manage the enlarged rural fire district. We only need to talk about the things that really matter to the actual, the board itself.
There has been a subtle change in the main role of PRFOs, from reactive, fighting fires, to proactive, focusing on risk management, land management and best governance practices.
The PRFO under the new framework very much needs to be a good manager, a good executive officer to the board, needs to have a good understanding of what's required in terms of fire control measures, but needs good organisational and planning ability as well. So he's not a smoke chaser, he's a manager, and he's there to make sure that all those fire control measures are put together and applied right across the wider district. And there's still a layer of operational people there that can chase the smoke and fight the fires and do those other day-to-day things that need to be done.
When the fire occurs, I guess that's a failure, because our main objective is to work with the public to get them to understand the risks and to undertake the required management strategies.
It means that going forward, these principal rural fire officer CEOs will have less of a role in actual fire management and more of a role in business management.
Okay, regarding equipment capital projects, the placement of radios and fire service tankers has been completed.
The new breed of PRFO also has to be more politically astute, dealing with a range of authorities and ensuring all statutory responsibilities are met.
You're really looking for a people person, because at the end of the day, we're in the business of people. To be able to respond to a fire, to be able to ensure that your reduction and your readiness and all those things are sorted, you need people to be able to get on really well.
We can train those people in the technical fire skills. That level of training is there now, and so it's putting that together with the good management and organisational planning skills that these new people can bring.
My background was Forest Service and Department of Conservation, so having some of that sort of background understanding is helpful. Building up those relationships with those other managers within those key groups is important.
They need to be good administrators, good managers, strategic in their thinking, be able to look at how efficiencies can be gained across the stakeholder group, be able to engage with the stakeholders, address the issues on the ground without them sort of being elevated to a board level or to the National Rural Fire Authority.
Of course, this doesn't mean the Chief Executive spends all day behind a desk or at the board table. First-hand knowledge of the district's physical environment is critical. The job best suits someone with a background in land management of some form.
The role of PRFO for me is ideal because in the bigger forestry companies, etc., it's a really strong management focus. You almost lose contact with the ground level. This role has a real nice blend between the top level management and strategic positioning versus a relationship with individuals and knowing people, and it is really important that you recognise people, you know their personalities when it comes to reacting under a stressful situation like a fire.
This new approach of larger, better resourced fire districts with full-time professional PRFOs will result in a number of benefits. Improved consistency, more collaboration giving better results from more focused efforts, better management of threats and risks, increased capacity, fair and equitable funding across the country, better advice to communities, and less confusion.
Okay, so what I want to do is just talk about the development of this user guide to the New Zealand Fire Danger Rating System. I'll talk a bit about the aims and objectives of the user guide.
Enlarged rural fire districts also make it easier to organise and participate in conferences, training seminars and workshops, like these in Christchurch.
It's a matter of getting bang for the buck, in the sense that the fire authorities to date have been a bit small and part-time, and the people that have managed them have often not necessarily held all of the qualifications necessary, simply because it's been part of a bigger job that they've been doing.
It's definitely a benefit. I know that the TAs are involved in my area can see those benefits over the last 10 or 12 years and support that.
And it's certainly a real benefit to the rural residents of New Zealand, because the service they will be getting delivered will be much more efficient, much more professional and much more cost effective.
My overall assessment is if you go back 10 years and then go back another 10 years, we've actually collectively come a long way, and that's not down to any individual, it's down to everyone that's in our industry.
We're confident the end result overall will be better protection of life and property from fire, and that's what we all want.
It's a challenging, exciting, fun job to be involved in.